Hey guys, I'm Fabio Fleitas. I'm the technical co-founder at Tesorio, and I'm going to be talking about retry best practices for dealing with third-party libraries. Let's jump in. So let's say we wanted to go fetch all of GitHub's users, right? All of the data from GitHub. We can create, to start, we can create this simple function that basically does a while loop and just iterates over every page of GitHub's users. But as you can probably imagine, there's going to be some errors with the API. Sometimes requests fail, or maybe GitHub goes down. And this will not work after you get to a certain page. So what we'll do is actually pip install Tenacity. Tenacity is one of the best Python package libraries for retrying. And it's actually pretty simple. You basically, from Tenacity, you import retry, and it actually works as a decorator. You just add a retry to any function that you want it to retry whenever an exception is raised. And so this is a pretty simple thing. You retry everything, but as you can probably imagine, this is not pretty good. If you're 100 pages into GitHub's users, then it will start from the beginning. So good thing to do is actually break out the function so that it only does one retry for a single request. So here we created a GetData function that all it does is send one request and returns its response. And in case anything happens, it'll retry it again. So this is pretty good, but one of the first things that you will probably hit when trying to actually run this function is rate limiting. GitHub is going to stop you from trying to get all its data very quickly, so we have to be a little bit smart. So we'll actually try to validate the response that we get and actually see if we're rate limited, and if so, raise a particular error so that we can know that that's what happened. Otherwise, just raise for status as you should normally do. And what we do is we actually modify our initial retry decorator to do something very specific. If the exception is that rate limited exceeded error, we can just wait 10 seconds. It doesn't make sense to retry consistently if you are hitting a rate limit. But again, this is okay. But since GitHub is able to give us information about how long we should wait until we retry again, we can actually add that into our validate response function and actually just wait until we are able to hit their API again, and then raise that rate limit exceeded error again. And our previous function will just automatically retry since it saw that error. This will give us a pretty good working function to be able to hit rate limits with GitHub and actually just keep going and retry effectively. But that's only one error that you can face with GitHub. And as you guys probably have experienced, GitHub can go down, maybe minutes, maybe hours. And so how would you deal with that? So basically, we'll go back into our validate response and actually, again, see if GitHub was down, and if so, raise a particular error. And if our previous function gets that error, we'll add a new retry decorator. And if it sees that the error is that GitHub is down error, we'll actually do a different type of retry logic. This is an exponential backoff, which basically means every time it retries, it'll wait twice as long before it retries again. This is effective because we don't really know how long GitHub will be down, in maybe a couple seconds, maybe a couple minutes, maybe a couple hours. So instead of just pinging it consistently for a period of time, just kind of back off exponentially until it can retry again. And so this will actually work pretty well for those cases. Now, the thing that we have to think about now is, what about post requests? Get requests are a little simple. You can just retry and it doesn't really cause too much issues, but post requests can, because post requests, if in a RESTful API, will typically create something. It'll create a new object. So if you are accidentally retrying on things, it will create multiple things. So what we want to do is make sure our post requests are idempotent. In case you're not familiar with what idempotency is, it's basically the concept that if you're going to request something once or multiple times, it has the same effect. So one example of this is, if you've ever used Stripe, you never want to accidentally charge your customer multiple times accidentally, right? And so one concept that Stripe's API has is this idea of an idempotency key. And that basically means that Stripe, if it sees that key with that same request, it won't do anything, because it assumes that you just retried and are trying it again. So a good approach there is create a particular function that will retry that post request, and with that idempotency key, we'll make sure that it doesn't do it multiple times. The key the key thing here is that you want to create your key outside of that function, because otherwise it'll create new idempotency keys and kind of defeats the purpose. So as long as you can create your key outside of that function, keep that function very simple. Again, just doing one request once, then you'll have a great experience with that, and you'll be able to get idempotent requests. That's all. And we're actually hiring, so in case you want to talk more about this or anything else, I'm afterwards. Thanks.